For Jesus himself had testified that the prophet has no honor in his own hometown. So when he came to Galilee, the Galileans welcomed him, having seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the feast. For they too had gone to the feast. So he came again to Cana in Galilee, where he had made the water wine. And at Capernaum there was an official whose son was ill. When this man heard that Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went to him and asked him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. So Jesus said to him, "Unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe." The official said to him, "Sir, come down before my child dies." And Jesus said to him, "Go, your son will live." The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and went on his way. As he was going down, his servants met him and told him that his son was recovering. So he asked them the hour when he began to get better, and they said to him, "Yesterday at the 7th hour, the fever left him." The father knew that was the hour when Jesus had said to him, "Your son will live." And he himself believed, and all his household. This was now the second sign that Jesus did when he had come from Judea to Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord. The book of Isaiah is known sometimes as the fifth Gospel because we have readings from Isaiah very frequently in the season of Lent as well as Advent. Because this book of Isaiah is seen as a place where promises were made but were now fulfilled in Jesus. Now we are in that section of the book of Isaiah where the people who had been taken away from Judea, from Jerusalem, and taken to exile in Babylon, and they always longed and yearned to come back, and now they have returned to Jerusalem. But it has been an utter disappointment. This wonderful city they looked forward to was desolate and in ruins after years of neglect. They seemed to be without hope. And so we have, therefore, in the first reading, the encouraging words, which we hear, "Look, I am going to create a new heaven and a new earth." This is what we call in biblical terms apocalyptic language, which speaks about the end times. In fact, this very phrase is going to be taken in the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, where the new heavens and the new earth refer to now the new Jerusalem. Now, it's a manner of saying that this will be a world free of pain and suffering, no weeping, no wailing. No children will die before their time, and no one will live less than 100 years. As I said, it's a manner of saying it's a dream of a better and wonderful way of life. And it paves the way for Jesus, whom we will hear in the gospel now brings healing and wholeness to a household threatened with death. Now, Jesus is back in Cana. In the earlier part of this very chapter, John chapter 4, he was in Samaria having this encounter with the Samaritan woman where finally all came to faith in him. But here comes this official of the court who comes pleading with Jesus. Most likely not a Jew himself. But Jesus does not limit himself to people of his own religion or his own race. Now this text, not many are very familiar with it because somehow or the other it's overlooked or lost or ignored on two counts. This is something that takes place in John 4, and we are so overwhelmed with the whole Samaritan woman story. This also takes place in Cana of Galilee, but for us we often think only of the miracle of the water turning into wine. What we see here is this. Both these events in Cana have something in common. The people act on the basis of the word of Jesus. Mary says, "Do whatever he tells you," at Cana of Galilee at the wedding feast. Jesus says to the stewards, "Fill the jars with water." And here we have this royal official at a word from Jesus, "Go, your son will live," and he straightaway returns home. Both these events in the Cana of Galilee speak of the power of faith. Not just as a way of saying, I believe, or the creed, but a pragmatic and a practical and a concrete way of believing in the person of Jesus. From the perspective of the official, the court official, it was an act of faith. But from the perspective of Jesus, it was an act of redemption, this healing. And with him, a new age was begun, was inaugurated. Now, what do we see in this text? We see the power of the word. Because Jesus simply says, go, your son will live. And before he even reaches home, the official servant says, your son is already recovering. And the entire household come to faith in Jesus. In John chapter 4, the first part, the Samaritan woman and a whole town come to faith in Jesus because they listened, both these groups listened with freshness and openness. But the real pain and tragedy is that for Jesus, his own people are the ones who doubt and refuse to have faith in Jesus. Both the Samaritan woman and these court officials are portrayed as models of faith and models of believers. What can we learn from this text? Jesus complains that people are looking for signs and wonders. Fascinating. In the Gospel according to John, Jesus is not seen using the word miracles. John prefers to use the word signs. And there's a sign is not something that is merely miraculous, but really it points out to a deeper nature, the divine nature and the goodness of Jesus, his mission. You know, when Jesus, for example, in John chapter 6, multiplies bread, it's not just for a miraculous sensationalism. It is to say, I am the bread of life. And so every sign in John is pointing out to something bigger. It says that it recalls that we must be open to seeing something beyond what is merely being seen. They point us to Jesus' identity. And it is only faith that makes us discover its deepest level. You could say that faith is like an X-ray, which makes one discover what the naked eye cannot see. Now, in the gospel text, Jesus assures the court official's son that he is healed. This man trusts Jesus even as he surrenders him into the safe and the secure hands of Jesus. Whatever happens will be for the best, for that is the safest place to be when we surrender into the hands of God. It might work out just as we hoped for, or it might work out just as God wishes, even if that was not what we hoped for or the manner in which we hoped for. We have the right to cry out what we wish for, when we pray, but we must also have the grace to accept the outcome, because we have surrendered that situation, that person, that event into the hands of Jesus. Jesus knew this only too well himself. In the Garden of Gethsemane, his prayer was, Father, let this chalice pass away. But he also had the grace to accept, not my will, but thine be done. What is it that we need to surrender today into the hands of Jesus? It could be health. It could be job. It could be a relationship. It could be something we're struggling with, hurt or hate, revenge, anger, jealousy. What is it? It would mean even surrendering our worry and our anxiety, something that is weighing us or burdening us. We do what we need to do. We work for what is possible, but then we leave it and surrender it into the hands of God. There is only one Messiah. Not me, not you. It is Jesus Christ. We entrusted these cares of ours into the safe, secure, and caring hands of Jesus.